What up? What up? What is going on, everyone? We are back for another live. We're going to be dropping another podcast episode. That's what we're going to be doing here today. So, as you guys are popping in, if you're watching that replay, give me a hashtag replay. We're going to get this party started here very, very soon. I got actually a very valuable podcast to actually talk about, right? So, I hope you guys get a lot of value out of this. So, we are going to begin in 3, 2, and 1. Welcome to another episode of the I Am Undeniable podcast. I'm your host, Alex Sundar, and I'm here to drop some major fucking bombs and perspective on how to become unbreakable in your mind, body, and soul. And in today's episode, it's quite a special one because I just turned 33 a couple days ago on March 19th. It was actually, I guess this hasn't happened in 120 years from what I've researched. Because it was the first day of spring on my birthday. Usually that never happens. It's usually a couple days afterwards. So turned 33. And one of my goals of today's episode is literally to talk about my perspective on life. What is my current perspective on life? My perspective on things have drastically changed over the years. And I find as I grow as a person in my mindset, my business, my fitness, my personal life, a lot of things just change in how I view the world and what I look at in certain aspects. So I hope as you guys tune into this episode, you guys get a tremendous amount of value based on what I'm going to be sharing with you today. So turning 33, it's definitely different being in your 30s compared to your 20s. Lots has changed. Different responsibilities. I'm in a committed relationship now. That's very different for me especially. And having a business, a successful business. I've owned a few businesses in the past that just never panned out. But we're here now. And I think that's what matters. And throughout this journey, I think I learned quite a lot based on quite a bit of different areas. So I'm going to be talking about the top 3 that I do talk about in this podcast, which is the mind, body, and soul. I'll talk about them in order too. The mind, body, and soul, my perspective on each one. And I think like you guys are going to really understand my perspective on this as we're kind of going through it. So number 1, your mind, right? I believe in this quote. It was actually funny. One of my best friends, Manjinder, was talking about this because I was getting an article written about me, I think about 2 years ago. And I asked him, I'm like, hey man, what's a life quote? I need a life quote. They're asking me for a life quote and I don't know what to put on it. And he told me, dude, play hard. You work hard, play hard. And he just started laughing. Right. And I started laughing. But it was such a true statement. You work hard and then you play hard, right? Or a lot of people say party hard or whatever that looks like for you. And the reason why I use that statement, I even used that quote in my first fitness coaching event that I hosted back in July. Oh, excuse me. And the reason why that's so important is because I'm a big believer in how you do one thing is how you do everything. So my goal is to have fun in every area of my life, whether that is my relationships, whether that is fitness, whether that's my work, whether it's waking up, even going to things that I don't enjoy. It is all about perspective at the end of the day, because we all do stuff that we don't truly enjoy at the end of the day, but you got to enjoy and learn the difficult parts of your everyday life. And that's a perspective that I really, really embody at my current age. Right? Who knows if that's going to change for the future, but I'm a big believer in that you have to enjoy every single part of your life. You really have to enjoy it. And because like our reality shapes based on how we think about things, right? I'm a big believer in that too. Your internal self based on who you are is a reflection of your life, your relationships, who you are as a man, what you do for work, your fitness, all of that is a reflection of your internal self. So the mind is such a big component of that, and what you believe really shapes your reality, right? So what I mean by that is that if you keep telling yourself negative stuff, if you keep holding on to things that aren't impossible, well, why would it be possible if you don't believe it, right? So I think it's so important now that me being 33 and accomplishing the stuff that I've accomplished so far, being an international published author, business coaching, fitness coaching, speaking on events. What is so important now is that I have more tremendous belief in my ability than ever before. And every year it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And I think a lot of people miss that because we don't put the internal work that allows us to have that perspective. Right. So I think that's my first main perspective is you got to love everything that you do, regardless if you like it or not, because it's all perspective at the end of the day. Might not love it now, but one day you're going to wake up and you're going to appreciate the lessons that come from it, right? And there's a lot of lessons that you can take, whether they're good or whether they're bad. There's always a lesson that you can take out of it. Second thing, health, your body, right? My perspective on health has really changed as I got older. Main reason why is because recovery is a lot different. I got to get sleep. My goals for training are significantly different. Like I'm not a super high competitive athlete like I used to be, but that's still the goal. We're still chasing after it. But I think one of my perspectives when it comes down to health that has really, really changed is I used to go into the gym. I used to work out more so for my mental health. I use it to, there's a big saying in the fitness community. I am fighting my demons in the gym. And that's a true thing, but I'm not fighting demons anymore. I'm not. Like I put in so much work into who I am now that when I go in the gym and I work out, my driving force on fitness has completely changed. And when you're like, dealing with your own shit, dealing with your own internal self, right? All the problems, all the inner child work, all the stress. And now that I'm not stressed out, like I literally have almost zero stress in my life, my perspective on working out had to change because as soon as I did all that work, I woke up one day, I'm like, fuck, I'm not motivated to work out anymore. It's not the same motivation. So I have to shift my perspective on, you know what, instead of me trying to run away from who I naturally fucking am, I'm going to lean into who I am now. And who I am now is someone who shows up for himself no matter what every single day. So my driving force when I'm working out is just very, very different, right? And I think a lot of people need that shift. And I think a lot of you guys can get that shift once you start going to the gym, you start to eat, you gain more experience, and perspective just changes over time, right? So my driving force when it comes down to my health is very different. I'm a big believer, again, your body is a reflection of who you are inside, and you need to be fit. There's no other option. You need to be fit. You're giving yourself less of a duty by not being someone who is fit for someone who's not showing up for themselves. It is a necessity when it comes down to living life. And the third one is your spirit, right? Like, what do I mean by your spirit? Your soul. I think as I got older, I become significantly more spiritual. I guess that's the word. That's what the word that people tell me. Like, you're a very spiritual man. I'm like, really? Me? Alex Sundar is spiritual? I never really understood it at the time, but I kind of get it now, if I would have believed it. I actually grew up Catholic. Catholic, because my mom is Filipina, and grew up Catholic. And I find as I'm getting older, I'm starting to appreciate, and actually I'm starting to learn and research my dad's religion. My dad is actually Hindu. He's from Fiji. He's Fijian Hindu. And I'm actually starting to research and learn about that religion, his culture a lot more, because I believe like you can take a lot of life lessons from these. You just got to apply it in your own way. And the one thing about your spirit, the whole goal is to break apart the triggers and conditionings that you grew up with. Now, what do I mean by that? There are triggers in everything. There's good and bad triggers. There's nothing wrong with either or, but they are triggers. And you got a response to it. And that can be a very stressful response on your body. And I've been learning to release a lot of stress. Like, I've been the calmest I've ever been in my life because I'm learning how to release those stress mechanisms. A lot of those stress mechanisms that are on your body, on the way you think, the way you act, the way you process it, it's all from childhood, right? Because like you get really influenced from your environment as a kid. It could be from, growing up, learning to speak a certain way, people teaching you, whatever that looks like. There's a lot of like different conditioning stuff that really kind of happens for you. So for me, what I actually started to do is I started to like release this conditioning. And because I did that, I become so present in what I'm actually doing. I've been actually told that I'm so present sometimes it's a problem because I don't notice things around me. But I think that's such a beautiful thing. And there's such calmness around that because now you can actually sit and be present in what you're actually doing. I don't think a lot of people have that ability. I don't think a lot of people have the ability to talk to someone or talk to their girlfriend, talk to the kids, talk to the people around them without thinking about the other shit. Like, think about that. How many people come home and they're thinking about the stuff on social media, their favorite show, they're thinking about another scenario. They can't really engage in the conversation that you're having with that person or even engage with the conversation of yourself. How many of us overthink constantly about stress, what's going on in our life over and over and over and over again, or looking in the mirror, not being happy with what you see? There's a shit ton of stuff that is constantly going on over and over and over again. And your brain is constantly working. Have you ever hit a point where you could just stop and live in the moment? There's not a lot of people I know that can do that. Not a lot. There's just not a lot of people in general, right? I can do that now. When I see you, when I have a conversation, I fucking see you. I can have a conversation. I don't see anything else. I see you. When I'm walking down the street, I'm appreciating. I see the beauty in the neighborhood, the trees. When I'm on this podcast, I ain't thinking about other shit. I'm thinking about the impact that I want to make to all of you that are listening to this fucking podcast right now. When I'm training, I ain't thinking about useless shit. I'm focusing on what I'm actually doing because I got rid of the stress that was holding me back from being my most present self. That's a skill, my friends. That's a skill. It's such an important skill to have. And if you can take anything away from this podcast episode that I'm going to be teaching you right now, you need to learn 3 things. You need to learn love. I think love is a universal language and tool for everyone. You need to learn to love yourself. You need to learn to love yourself before anything else. That's number 1. Number 2, you got to learn to forgive. It's not about forgiving others so much. It's about forgiving yourself for any mistakes that you made. And number 3, understand there's always an opportunity for you to change and become the person who you need to be. So everyone, thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you got value from this podcast episode, give my Instagram a follow, Alex Sundar Fit. And if you got value from this podcast episode, share it with a friend or family member that could get value back. Talk to y'all soon.